What happens when a small fishing port evolves into the world's largest cruise hub and a key player in space exploration? Welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle, where we explore the intersection of Orlando real estate and your best life. I'm your host, Phil Kruse, here to help you make the most out of your journey right here in the city beautiful. Port Canaveral is a vital hub for cruising, commerce, and yes, space exploration. It continues to grow as the cornerstone of Central Florida's economy and tourism. And guess what? It's only a 1 hour drive from Orlando and right next to Orlando's closest beach, Cocoa Beach. In this episode, we're going to explore the port's strategic expansions to get even better and its role in the program, as I've teased a couple times. We're going to talk a little bit about the port's super interesting history, some passenger and tourism statistics, and generally Orlando's tourism landscape in a snapshot, in case you didn't already know, like I know, that Orlando is the best city in the United States. But before we get started, I am a real estate agent, and one of my main lead sources are listeners like you. So when it's your time to make a major real estate decision, think of me, Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. You throw that in Google or on Instagram, put Orlando, put real estate at the end. You're going to find me. Follow me on all my social channels. It really helps me a lot. I provide you a lot of useful content. You're going to find value in what I provide. A weekend post every Friday telling you my 5 favorite things and all kinds of interesting lifestyle information about Orlando and obviously real estate information. And of course, a portion of all my real estate commissions go to charity. If you work with me, you get to pick the charity that I donate my commissions to. Or if you don't have a charity that you're passionate about, I'll donate it to the charity I work and partner with, the New Image Youth Center. I just left today. I recorded this episode the day before Thanksgiving. I was just at their Thanksgiving luncheon. What an amazing organization. Miss Shantae Barton, Dr. Shantae Barton Stubbs is running over there. And find me all over social media. This is on YouTube. I'm obviously on Spotify and Apple. Make sure you like and subscribe to me on all those channels and turn on your notifications on your cell phone so that you get a notification every Monday when I drop a new episode. I'm here to keep you informed and hopefully a little bit entertained. Now imagine stepping off a roller coaster at Disney or Universal, then hopping on a high-speed rail train, heading to the cruise terminal, and then hopping on a ship to cruise out into the Caribbean, and you're doing that all in the same day. That is what is possible. That is what's coming to Orlando. In Orlando, only in Orlando are you going to be able to do something like that. That makes me so excited. Did you know that Port Canaveral is the largest cruising port in the country? Yes, larger than LA, larger than Miami, larger than New York. Guess what? It's the largest cruising terminal in the entire world, right here, 1 hour from Orlando. We surpassed Miami as the largest cruising terminal back in 2023. And that's due in large part to all the infrastructure investments we've made and the surrounding cities have made in the port to allow for bigger ships. The Port Canaveral projects a record-setting 8.4 million cruisers this coming year in 2025. Are you going to be one of them? Can you picture yourself sitting poolside, sipping a frozen margarita while watching your kids surf a simulated wave? I can, especially the margarita part. Then later that night, throwing the kids in the kids club. I mean, that's what I do, is toss them in there by the scruff of their neck, let somebody else deal with them at night. And then you and your spouse and your friends party or gamble or both the night away. We have this option. Again, just 1 hour from Orlando, and it's getting better. How is it getting better? The Port Authority in Port Canaveral just announced an expansion of a 50,000 square foot addition to the Terminal 5. It's just going to be huge. Why do we need to do this? Because cruise ships are getting bigger and bigger. We already hold the world's largest cruise ship, Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas. We have another cruise terminal, an area in the port that can hold these giant ships, but we need more. Can you believe we've actually lost business? Our port could be bigger and more robust and generate more revenue than it is right now if we could hold more larger ships. And you know the ships are only getting bigger. So now we're going to expand Terminal 5 to be able to hold these mega ships, which generally mean they have 5,000 or more passenger capacity. We tried to do this twice before. Two other expansion attempts were made, and they were either not approved or canceled. Believe it or not, in one case, due to the Space Force or other space entities gobbling up the areas for use in their infrastructure efforts. It's so interesting when you think about Port Canaveral and Orlando in our economy as it pertains to the Space Coast. So amazing that we have so many things in Orlando from an economic perspective that support us during downtimes. We have the nation's largest university, depending on what year you're looking at, statistics wise, at UCF. Right here in Orlando, we have tons of headquarters located here. Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, okay, massive government contractors, and we got the Space Coast, we got SpaceX, we got NASA, we got the Space Force. Like it goes on and on. Of course, obviously Disney. I didn't even mention Disney World yet. Universal's expanding. We got the cruise port. We got so much going on with our airport. We'll get to that later. Um, some of the other enhancements we can expect with this cruise terminal expansion is adding 1,000 more parking spaces. That's a lot. We're finally going to get some good electric vehicle charging stations and additional green infrastructure. By the way, speaking of green, did you know that our Port Canaveral has been listed as a green marine certified port for over 8 years? Google it. I'm not going to get into the specifics of green marine, but it's obviously a good thing. It's based on self-reporting, so take it with a grain of salt, but it's better than not having the green certification. Now, Port Canaveral's story is so interesting. It's going to blow your mind. How did it go from a small fishing port to the world's largest cruise hub and a key player in space exploration? Imagine 1953, everyone riding down Highway 27 or Route 66, right? Straight out of the Cars movie. All right, people are going all over the country. We're expanding our infrastructure like crazy. Okay, so we opened Port Canaveral in 1953. Then the main thing it was there for was for commercial fishing, and it was also a cargo port, bringing in things like oil and even print media. You guys remember what that is? Newspapers and magazines? Yeah, those were a big thing, big enough for ships back in the day. Then in the 60s, of course, you had the Apollo program, and President Kennedy announcing that we were going to put man on the moon. And Cape Canaveral was picked as the hub for our space program, right next to, obviously, Port Canaveral. So now all of a sudden, Port Canaveral becomes a key player in the space program, helping move around massive pieces of Saturn V rocket. And guess what? There's an area out in East Orlando. I'm actually developing homes out there. It's called Wedgefield. It's east of the Waterford Lakes shopping area. It's east of Avalon Park. Finally, just before the 520, you have an area called Wedgefield. It started in the 50s and 60s because, well, really the 50s in anticipation of the space program. Guess what it was called back then? Rocket City. How cool is that? If you look at the platting or what, like the legal description of the lots out in Wedgefield, what they're called, they're actually the words Rocket City are in there. It's kind of fun. And of course, we eventually expanded away from the Apollo program and had the shuttle program that was supported with the solid rocket boosters and so forth. That was supported by Port Canaveral. And then not until the 80s did we add cruise ships. Guess who else added cruise ships in the 80s? Walt Disney. I wonder if they had something to do with it. So you can imagine why we quickly and over time have become a major player in cruises. Walt Disney World always has its thumbprint on our economy, and thank God for that, because they helped us get cruise ships in the 80s. Of course, now, fast forward to today, obviously we're the world's largest cruising port in the world's largest cruising port in the world. Yeah, okay. But we're working with SpaceX. Okay, how Elon Musk has us all captivated with what his company was able to do, just fast forwarding our slow moving space program by having these rocket boosters that can fall off the rockets and then self-direct themselves down to a drone barge. They're not even manned by people, and they're driven by computers. Where do those barges come out? And where do they go back to when they have those boosters land? You're talking Port Canaveral. So we are intimately involved with SpaceX, intimately involved with the Space Force, We have a base south of Port Canaveral, a Space Force base. It used to be called Patrick Air Force Base. It's now become a Space Force base. You're talking a 30-minute drive from Port Canaveral. It's all there, people. And it's all because of Port Canaveral. The space agencies in general have come together and have recommended over 2 billion with a B dollars worth of improvements that are needed at Port Canaveral to help support current and future space operations. Look, our space program is not going anywhere. It's only going to improve and evolve and get bigger and probably more complicated. So much government funding, state funding, but federal funding is going to come in, private funding from folks like Elon and then Jeff Bezos with his company Blue Origin and other billionaires that are involved in spaceflight. That money is going to be flooding into the space program, but specifically flooding into Florida, more specifically flooding into Cape Canaveral and Port Canaveral. Guess what? Only an hour from Orlando. Are you guys wondering why housing prices keep going up no matter what? Yeah, this is a huge, huge reason. Supply and demand, the demand for housing is only going to go up in Orlando and the surrounding regions as economic engines continue to churn like Port Canaveral. How cool is it that you live in arguably the greatest tourism city in the country? And if you don't live here, maybe you should. Look, Orlando is obviously a tourism hub. I think we are the greatest city in the US. I think we are the greatest tourist city in the US. Look, Paris is great. Okay. I've been there. The Eiffel Tower, awesome. The Louvre, humongous. Look, the food, great. The people, take them or leave them depending on who you're talking to. We have everything in the world that you would want on a vacation right here in Orlando. And the tourism statistics back it up. It's huge. Our economy, the state of Florida, our entire economy is based on tourism. It's the number one thing. It's why we don't have a state income tax. We have a consumption tax, i.e., sales tax. You only pay taxes to the state when you buy something. That's because of our tourism dollars. We have so many people coming in here buying things, buying hotel rooms, cruise packages, tickets to Disney, and all the other stuff that comes along with that. And that lets us live here and keep more of our income in our pockets. And it's another reason why people are moving here in droves. It's another reason why our real estate prices are both secure and going up. Did you know we're the most visited city in the entire United States? More than New York, more than LA, more than Atlanta or Chicago, right here. When you couple in both domestic and international travel, we are the number one most visited city in the country. We have one of the largest convention centers, the Orange County Convention Centers, with hundreds of millions of dollars of expansions and improvements going on right now. We're on par with Vegas. We're on par with Chicago, where some of these larger and crazy big convention centers are. That's right here. I mean, we have it all. And we have the rail infrastructure coming. We're already connected from Orlando International Airport to Miami International Airport. You can walk up to a train 15 minutes before it takes off. Walk or not takes off, but starts. I don't know what you call it when a train starts. You can walk in 15 minutes, no security, get on the train, and you're in Miami International Airport or even downtown Miami in 3 hours. They have stops at Ventura, the mall up there in North Miami, so that you can get off and take a shuttle to go watch Dolphins games and other events happening at the stadium, like the World Cup, for example, comes to mind. I believe Miami's a host city. I mean, we have that already, high-speed rail. And guess what? Earlier this month, they announced that the city of Cocoa is going to be getting a Brightline train station. So you can take your kids or your family to MCO, to the Orlando International Airport, hop on a train, take a 45-minute to an hour train ride to the city of Cocoa and get an Uber, and you're on a cruise. You don't even have to drive. I mean, how amazing is that? Take it on the way back. I, for one, can envision my kids going to visit my parents that have retired and live in Cocoa Beach. I drive them to the airport, throw them on a train when they're old enough, and say, sayonara, me and the wife, we got our own week to do whatever the heck we want without our kids, and my parents can go and pick up my kids from the train. Doesn't that sound like a magical experience for your kids? I mean, when they're old enough to have the freedom and flexibility to be able to hop on a train. Imagine it from through their eyes. I mean, this is something that's coming. Look, Port Canaveral alone generates $156 million of revenue. This was record breaking back in 2023. And that is not the port's revenue as a whole. That's the revenue just associated with cruises. But guess what? Over 80% of the port's revenue comes from cruises. Gone are the days where they're a large scale commercial fishing operation. Gone are the days where they're a large scale or even any scale cargo infrastructure. There is cargo that comes in and out of there, but it's very minor, obviously less than 20%. And it's only getting better. So are you convinced? Living in Orlando is the best. We have an uber diverse and insulated economy. We're a burgeoning tech sector. I just went to a charity event 2 weeks ago, being started by a entrepreneurial mogul here in Orlando. His first name is Jason. His last name escapes me, but he started a LiDAR or a light radar company. The sensors used for self-driving vehicles. He's a huge player, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs right here in Orlando that graduated from UCF. Look, when you have the nation's largest university and it's a tech university, I myself graduated from there with an engineering degree and partners with all kinds of local industry like Lockheed Martin in the Space Coast. You're going to keep churning out talent, and you're going to keep having people that want to stay in Orlando. They want to give back to their community like myself, and you're going to keep seeing Orlando explode. We got the biggest airport in the state. We have the most visited airport in the entire country. We have the biggest cruise port in the entire country. I mentioned no state income tax, and we continue to invest in ourselves, and we continue to grow. Look, don't forget about my real estate services. If you're interested in moving to Orlando, relocating, buying or selling right here in Orlando, I'm your guy. I know it all. I can make the process easy. Look, buying or selling real estate doesn't have to be stressful. Work with a pro, work with the right pro, work with me. And remember, you get to choose a charity for me to donate a portion of my commission to. And if you don't have one you're passionate about, I will gladly donate it to the New Image Youth Center like I have many times this year. Make sure to follow me on social media. Go on my Instagram, go on my Facebook. Just Google Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. Throw Orlando on there, throw real estate on there, whatever. You're going to find me. Follow me on my social media channels. I'll keep you up to date on everything that's happening in Orlando, especially on YouTube as well, where you may be viewing this. And of course, I love giving back. So if you need any help giving back to the community here in Orlando, I can help point you in the right direction. I know a bunch of charities and philanthropic people that I can help you contact and get your giving back journey started. And always know that your best life in Orlando is within reach. Keep embracing every moment. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Cheers.